there, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here with you on a Wednesday night. It is about 20 minutes till 10. We're going to talk about the severe weather threat returning for tomorrow across parts of Oklahoma. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share this video, this post, my Facebook page in general, my YouTube, Twitter, whatever it is that you follow me on social media, to your friends and family. I'd really appreciate that. I give you more specific details on what you get, more of a scientific background. So instead of just painting a whole area and saying everybody's going to get this and everybody's going to get that, I actually tell you who's more likely to get it, what area, and then what you're actually looking at for your potential, and then versus usually what you get in reality, which is usually never quite as bad. Thank goodness, because there's always potential. So luckily, atmosphere rarely lives up to its potential. Sad, isn't it? I'm not complaining, and you shouldn't be either. All right, so I'll tell you what. First off, thanks for joining me, you guys, on YouTube, for leaving your chats. Mason's favorite part of the workday, so I appreciate that. Jim's calling in from Mustang, so he's all over it. And you guys on Twitter and Periscope are there with me tonight. And on my private Facebook group page for all of you Patreon and Facebook fan supporters, and also the main group page as well. I'll get to your questions or comments or concerns especially here in a minute, but right now let's get you into the weather. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about is the threat for tomorrow. This will be late afternoon and in the late evening hours, really. So we'll first see potential for storms down here in the far southwest Oklahoma, and then we're going to see storms probably bubbling up somewhere in this vicinity once we head to about the 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock hour. And this will be a lone storm maker down here along the Red River, and this guy here will move south and east as well. And each of these will have some hail potential. Now, we're on the graph from the Weather Service is up to baseball. That's more likely out across the southeastern Texas panhandle, maybe in the far southwest Oklahoma. It's going to be a little iffy on that. They might not be that quite that large, but we'll see what happens. Winds sometimes with these storms can reach up to 70 miles an hour or so, so that's in that category. No potential really for a tornado with this environment here across Oklahoma, maybe in southeastern Texas panhandle, where you can get away with some of the elevation changes. We'll get to that here in a second. Now, this is where they had outlined the best chance for baseball-size hail. And again, it depends on the track of the supercell. It's only going to be a very narrow corridor. In other words, if you only get one or two storms, it's literally the width of this yellow line, which means everyone in this red circle is not going to see baseball-size hail. Now, hail up to golf ball size is more likely in this area, and then points south and east a bit. So that is potential as well as on the table. And when you look at the flash flood risk, it all depends on where the heavy band of rain sets up. I'm going to show you some of the model data, which indicates some of it may be up here. There are also some indications that may be right down here. But regardless, where that heavy east to west band sets up, we do have a threat for some heavy rainfall up to around maybe 3+ inches in a very short order of time. That would lead to flash flooding. Now, when you look at the analog and you put in all the model data, all the past severe weather events that mimic the atmospheric ingredients for tomorrow, on the hazard guidance of severe weather reports, at least 10 hail reports. We're gonna pick that category here for now. You can see there's a lot of colors on the map here across Oklahoma. Now, when you factor in significant hail, and that's where we're going to click on 5 significant hail reports, which means hail size is greater than 2 inches, doesn't have any when it goes back to historical references. Now, for at least one severe hail that's around 2 inches or greater, it does have the potential down here across southwest Oklahoma. So I'm saying it may not quite be baseball size, but it'll be close enough. So there will be a few unlucky people down that area that will get a new roof and sometimes a new car if they leave it out in the elements. So that's the big hazard guidance for tomorrow's event. The wind and the tornado reports on this are pretty much non-existent. Even if you look at another view of this, it's got painting mostly on the hail side. On the tornado side, it's got nothing. And even on the damaging wind side, it doesn't have much either. So again, mostly a hail event. Now, here's a look at how things ought to play out. So what happens is we got a return of moisture that comes in the morning. So we're going to have some brief showers that roll through here in central Oklahoma by the time you wake up in the early morning hours. When you're sipping your 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. coffee, there ought to be a few sprinkles rolling on by. Can't rule out an elevated sound of thunder off into the distance, but this is mostly glorified sprinkles moving through, say about, let's call it 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning at most. as things kind of work their way in from west to east across the state. All right, then we'll get clear out. We'll see some sunshine, south wind, and then this is where things kind of get interesting. Models do like to produce a couple of supercell storms out here across the eastern Texas panhandle, and then those will kind of drift into southwest Oklahoma. And then as we go through time, you're going to watch storms bubble up here. Here's another one. Here's another look at one popping up there in southwest Oklahoma right around or after dark. And then you get this line that develops. Now, up in here sounds like a song, right? Actually, it is a song. I'm not going to sing it for you. It's a chorus line of a rap song. Hello, Aaron Squirrel. So anyway, there's a cold front in this vicinity that these thunderstorms are going to be developing on as the low-level jet, the river of wind, runs up over that. So basically, you get a winds up around 1,000 feet or so, and they will move from south to north up over this front, and that will help to initiate the showers of storms. So we'll be capped tomorrow. Only place there may not be a cap at all, or at least a cap that breaks, is again this little sweet spot down here. The rest of us are capped, so that means this stuff holds off until, like I said, about 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. That's around 3 Zulu. All right, so as we go through time, watch what happens. These showers of storms line up east to west, hence the heavy band of rain I talked about. And those will move southward. This is the midnight hour southward here in the central Oklahoma on the I-40 corridor, point south, moving on into the Red River Valley after a few hours after that. So a good line of storms, producing a lot of heavy rainfall with it. Now you also see these little tracks here where you have these little black circles amongst the rain. Those are little, what they call helicity tracks, or areas where you get enough updraft to produce some hail in this particular case. So there's going to be a little bit of hail embedded within this, all right? Now, how's the Texas Tech model look? Because I love the Texas Tech model when it comes to severe weather season, especially if it looks very similar to the 3-kilometer NAM. That's just my little insider tip for all you weather gurus and weenies out there. Usually if the two align, you're pretty solid. So here's a look at how things I'll look at. This is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It does have a couple of supercells, eastern and southeastern Texas panhandle, kind of skipping through southwest Oklahoma. So those are potential big hail makers. I'll show you how one model wants to produce a little bit of tornadic activity down there, and I'll show you why it probably won't. But that'll move off to the east and die out. And as we head into that 9 to 10 o'clock hour, look what happens. It actually produces two lines of storms, one along kind of a pseudo warm front that's here, and then one along a cold front here. Either way, you're going to get these groups of storms to congregate here over central Oklahoma. You see the little red groupings. That indicates a little bit of hail with those as they move south and east. So very similar to outcome to the other model. All right, we're about to wrap this up. So here's a look at the significant tornado parameter for tomorrow. In other words, the best ingredients for getting a tornado would be down here across the southeastern Texas panhandle, far southwest Oklahoma, right along the Red River. And you're thinking, hey, that's where I got to go if I'm a storm chaser. Well, we'll see. This is a look at the cloud bases. In other words, lifting condensation level at how high up those cloud bases are. Remember the other day we had those storms here, and I really wasn't too concerned with tornadoes in the early on stages because the cloud bases are too high. Same thing here. Out across southwest Oklahoma, way too high. Sometimes in the east and southeast Texas panhandle, you can get away with that to a degree, but even that's pretty high. These values are up around 2,000 meters. That's way up there, all right? So not conducive for tornadic type conditions. Now here's a look at the forecast sounding for that area. And not only is there still a cap elevated at 700 millibars, but like I said, the cap and where the lifting condensation level is, my goodness, it's way up here. Like I said, 2,000 plus meters. So they're going to be super high base storms. And when that happens, you get hail makers. That's all you can get. Sometimes you get a little bit of wind from that, but it's mostly hail. Now, how big is the hail? In reality, a couple of models I looked at, most of them have it along this category here. The scale is, in the blue is from 1/2 inch to green is 1 inch to yellow is 1.5 inches. And you do see a few peaks of yellow scattered throughout these little reports. Now these won't be the exact tracks, but they'll be similar. But what it does show you that the max hail size, for the most part, should be between that 1 to 1.5 inch category, which is just under golf ball size hail. Yay! So in other words, not a big batch of softballs or baseballs coming down. And if we look at a forecast sounding here for central Oklahoma, we have a pretty good cap in place that's coming in out ahead of these storms, which is why we're not getting anything develop in the daylight hours. So we have to wait till after dark. But we also have a lot of dry air to overcome as well. down to lower levels. So again, that helps keep the cloud bases high, so no tornado threat here. By the way, in southwest Oklahoma, there is that little peak. There are about 4.5 inches of hail potential, at least in one case. Not a bunch, just one. So sparse event coverage for this in the past. I don't quite think we're going to get hail that big, though. And then back here in Oklahoma City, metro area, here's that big cap I was talking about. Still right here at the 9 and 10 o'clock hour. Even though the LCLs will come down, in other words, the cloud base will come down, because at nighttime it always does. This right here indicates all the storms will be elevated in nature. So if they're elevated like that, then we're talking about hail and not tornadoes, which is good, especially for a nighttime event. This is the last map I'm showing you, and then we're done. And you can see the band. Again, it depends on where it sets up. This particular model has it setting up east-west here, north of the I-40 corridor, so north of Oklahoma City, for example. Other models have a little further south. There's that other batch of rain down southwest, but the case is, you see in the yellow here, is a lot of 1 to about 2 inches of rain in many areas. And then where you get these reds and dark reds, it's up to around 3+ inches of rain. So somebody's going to get some flash flooding out of this here over central Oklahoma. Whew. I crammed in a lot, and I did it in like 8.5 minutes. I'm trying to shorten these, you know. You can only cram so much scientific stuff in there with explanation and reasoning in as fast as you possibly can. It's not easy. Anyway, so I hope all that was helpful. Jody's on it with the Team AT. You're so cute. JCast 25. Shh. You know what that means? Those reptilian things you see on video. Could I be an alien? You never know. Wes, record timing. You got that right. All right. On my patrons, real quick, let me scan through some of your comments. If you had anything, let's see. Hey. A lot of hays. You guys are all haying all over each other. Dennis singing the song. So what's the time frame for heavy rain in Oklahoma City? Beverly wants to know. So we don't have to worry about that here until about the... we'll just call it 10 o'clock. Because even if after an hour of rain, you're still okay, but it's the next hour and then the next hour after that. So it's about a 3-hour window of heavy rainfall. And it's that first hour you're all right. It's the next 2 hours where that rain will pile up enough to where you get some flash flooding. So anytime after 9 o'clock is when those storms should be bubbling up here over central Oklahoma. All right, skip through the main Facebook page, you guys. Thanks for watching as well. Scroll through your comments here real quick. How do you rate the Texas Tech model? Kelly wants to know for severe weather accuracy as compared to some of the other well-knowns. It does very, very well. I'm a fan. Not always, but the majority of the time it does really well. And that's why I said if it agrees with the 3-kilometer NAM, that's usually my confidence is pretty stout. And if you want to know my trick, I can't give away all my secrets, but part of my secrets is knowing when to rely heavily on that model. And I did that, was it 2 days ago, 3 days ago? I forget. However many days ago when we just had all the hailstorms. When I told you the exact position of where they'll start and how they would begin here in the far southeastern corner of Oklahoma County and southeast of the metro, from right over Choctaw, from a line from over Choctaw down toward Norman and Moore, whereas other forecasts had it all over the place. Just saying, I may have leaned a little toward that, and it worked out good. So Curtis says, heard it through the grapevine, maybe pretty active starting in 10 days. Anything showing up in the old crystal ball? Boy, he's wanting some tornadoes. Everybody needs to throw a angry face at Curtis. So, just not at me. But no, the weather pattern is going to change, unfortunately. You know, it is May, guys. We are supposed to have tornadoes in May. The first week, obviously, we're kind of quiet, and the next week we're kind of quiet. It's the next 2 weeks after that. So in other words, the last 2 weeks of May, patterns should change, and then we're going to get some tornadic activity back over Oklahoma. Roger with the troll. People actually pay for this? Oh, what a hater. I haven't had a hater in a long time. Oh, my goodness. I was starting to kind of feel a little left out. Hater world. Remember, don't feed the trolls, guys. He just wants attention. He's been in his mama's basement now, stuck because of the quarantine for the last 2.5 months, and he can't leave. So he's just having an event. He's got all this anxiety built up, and he's got to release it. So he's gonna do it here. Just let him do it. All right. I love trolls. Anyway, okay, so that's what I had here for you. Let me think. I'll tell you what. Somebody asked me long term. Let me see what I can do for you. What can I do for you? What can I show you? Oh, you know what? You need to protect your plants. And you're going, what did I just say? Yeah, I know. Protect your plants. Let me show you why. Let me load it up. So we're kind of in a cold pattern overall for the country because of what's happening. We're not going to get the brunt of the cold. We're going to get kind of the glancing blow. So we won't get a freeze here, but in the Northeast, not only going to see freezes, but they're going to see a lot of snow here in mid-May. That's nuts. We, however, will get a little chilly, just briefly. So was it Friday? Where were we? Let me do this. Okay, so here was, Friday night. So Friday night, we're looking at 45 degrees here in Oklahoma City, 42 up in Bartlesville, 44 in Tulsa, 45 up in Ponca City, so 45 up around Enid. So it kind of gives you the idea. Lots of 40s in here, light winds, clear sky. So it won't be a frost, but there are some plants that you guys have out there which don't like under 50 degrees. Usually those are in pots like mine are. Thanks, Jody. So you'll have to bring those in or put them in the garage for Friday night, Saturday morning. And then Sunday morning, still 40s up north, but around 50 here in Central, so it should be okay then. And then after that, I think we're warming back up again at nighttime. I call me a liar. One more day, there's Monday morning back in the upper 40s. So there's a few nights there where temperature's a little chilly for the plants, at least a tender vegetation. Otherwise, we'll be pretty hardy, and then temperatures start to warm back up, and we look pretty good there. Now, what about storms? Let's take a quick look at that. All right, now let's see. This was Sunday morning. Some stuff way out in southwest Oklahoma, and then there's a little pathetic shower activity or something on Monday, and then we've got some heavier stuff coming in here Monday night. Looks like into Tuesday across the northern parts of the state. But it looks like it's not timed well, so in other words, most of it comes through overnight in the morning. That always limits severe weather potential. There are a few storms that are showing up in the northwest Texas on Tuesday with that little leftover system. We've got some more storms there to our north coming up on Thursday. We're way out to the 14th of the month. We got some MCS action, looks like backdooring in on the 14th. Come on, we're starting to see some signals there of pretty good storm activity here on the 16th of the eastern half of the state. Now, if you really want to go way long range, this is like equivalent to throwing a dartboard, but we're going to throw the dartboard. Somebody asked, so let's get into it. All right, let's move past that. All right, so that's back on the 14th. So this model's a little different than the other one. Has the timing different, therefore it's got storms for us in the middle of the day and evening and nighttime. So some severe weather on that day potentially. And as we go through time, where's the signal? There's the 18th, a few storms on the 18th, and then here's the 21st of the month. And it looks like it's going to be a little stormy, looks like, after that point forward. So there you go. So still pretty quiet off and on through the middle of the month. And then as we get to the third week of May, things will change, and we'll start to get back into our stormy pattern of seeing more potential for tornadoes. Potential. I just use that word potential a lot because, remember, sometimes it's not always reality. That's it, my friends. So I'm going to get out of here. It's 10 o'clock. You can go watch the news if you want. I highly recommend you don't. Why? Because if it bleeds, it leads. I know. I used to work in the industry. That was the saying behind the scenes. It was a joke amongst us, but it really wasn't a joke because you want fear, gloom, and doom. Hate to tell you this, but you're programmed for it. If the news were to show you nothing but roses and lollipops, you'd be bored with it and you wouldn't watch. And that's why they show you the gloom and doom. The most blood they can put on the screen, they will do it. The most crime-ridden, negative news, they will do it. Why? Because you consume it. Thankfully, though, when it comes to weather, you get sick of that gloom and doom stuff. And so a lot of you came to here, where we don't do gloom and doom on the weather. So thanks for doing that. But if you can kind of switch that also on the news side, trust me, you will have so much less stress in your daily life. Because a lot of that stuff you can't control anyway. Just focus on this. And then your little circle around, your little bubble, friends and family and relatives, your little cohesive unit, and you'll be doing much better. If you ask me when's the last time I watched local news, 2008, 7 to 8, when I left that industry, don't miss it. There is nothing that I have missed in that entire 10-year plus period since. So my little advice to you, and you'll be much happier. Sleep better. You'll have extra time in the day. Imagine what you can do with that extra 30 minutes. Know what I'm saying? Just think about it. All right. I'll get out of here. Guys, have a great night. It's good seeing you. Good talking to you. We'll do it again. I'll keep an eye on those storms for you tomorrow. Don't expect tornadoes, but some hail for sure for a few of you, and we'll go from there. All right. Thanks. Have a good night. Bye. Oh, yeah? So what was he saying? Right.